Stay down! Stay down! The bottle hits his face again, and I hear something crunch. When I pull the bottle up to swing again, a spray of red comes with it, blood gushing down the guard's uniform. He's stumbling now. His motions are animated, but he can't seem to stay on his hooves. Stay down! I lift the bottle again. Get away from him! A stallion's voice roars, and I feel some pony crash into my side. A moment later, I'm on the ice-cold floor, my fresh stitches torn open all over again, and there's what feels like a ton of earth pony pressing down on top of me. There's no thought, no pain, just adrenaline and instinct. Swing and kick and bite and stab with my horn. He's winning, though. He's winning. I'm losing blood from my cuts. My horn hits nothing but air. The one time I do get him with a hoof, it's like hitting a brick wall, and when he drives his hoof into my gut, it knocks the wind clear out of me, spots appearing in my vision. Through the haze, I can feel him disentangling himself from me, standing up and getting back on his hooves. I can see him flex his ankle, a long silver blade snapping out. My magic catches it at the last second, shoving the blow away and into the ground. He growls, and his other forehoof drives down into my face. My ears ring and the world spins, warmth flooding my mouth as I taste blood. The corridor becomes a place of muted sounds and distant lights, but even through the haze, I can see the shine as he raises his hoof knife again. The crimson glow surrounds his mane, yanking his head up and back. There's a flash of silver and a wet snap. He gurgles once, then he falls over and doesn't move. Come on, sweetheart, the green says, and I see the bottoms of her legs when she steps up to me. Oh, right, I'm lying down. Some pony will have heard that. Time to go. The world suddenly turns red, and I feel her lifting me up off the floor. But I right myself and stand under my own power. She's right there, in front of me, exactly like she was. So pretty in that old dress, with that beautiful color. It seems forever since I've seen her. One of the mugger's knives is floating next to her, covered in blood. I pick up the second one off the floor. This way. Follow me. The Pegasus's body is there, but his blood doesn't pool under him. It runs in a little river from his throat, following us down the slope. He won't get up again. We don't go far, only a hoofful of floors down, to one of the apartment doors. It looks like any other, really. The hardwood covered in golden lettering that reads Eline Quine. Green has the key for it, though, and when she pushes it open, I can see it's abandoned. An empty apartment, with bare floors and bare walls and warmth in the air. She yanks me inside and shuts the door behind us, heaving a sigh once we're out of sight. Her back is turned to me, and I have the knife. That was too close for comfort, she says, turning back to face me. They'll be searching. Her head tilts to one side, as she seems to notice me. Sweetheart, you can put the knife down now. She's one of them. She's one of those things. She wants to hurt me. She wants to turn me into one of them. She does. I lift the knife, twisting it around. The point is hooked in one side, and blood runs down it, clinging into the inside of the curve. Siren, sweetheart, come back to me. You've been through one heck of a beating, but we're safe for now. She coos. Liar. She's a liar, and she's trying to get me to let my guard down. Liar. I'm going to reach out now, nice and slow. I want you to give me the knife, okay? Nice and calm. See? I'm putting mine away. She slides the other knife back into her saddlebags. Like that's supposed to convince me of anything. Everything about her is deadly. She could kill me with her eyes, her hooves, her horn. And I'm supposed to feel better just because she doesn't have a knife? I'm reaching out now, sweetheart. Her horn glows. She's trying to take my knife. She's trying to take my knife. She's going to kill me. She's one of them, and she's going to kill me and turn me into one of them, and I'll mutate, and I don't want to die here. I have to get her first. I have to... Suddenly, the glow around the blade is a different color. I'm trying to hold on to it, my horn flickering and shining with the effort, but she's so much stronger than me. There's a loud buzz as we both strain, and then a sudden pain in my horn, and I have to let go. The blade going away into her bag. That was good, Siren. Now, shh. She reaches out. Don't touch me! Getting as far away from her as I can, backed against the door. Don't you! Would you kindly be quiet? She hisses, and I feel my mouth clamp shut. I should be quiet. That's what she wants. and it's important I make her happy. That's the most important thing. She's so beautiful. But why does that make me hurt? My eyes are watering again, but I don't make the slightest sound. Not a sob, not a squeak. It's not what she wants. No matter how much I try to focus, my vision is blurred. But I can smell her. Like the most beautiful field of flowers and a spring breeze and cut grass. She pulls me forward into a hug, and I bury my head into her mane, taking a deep breath of that wonderful scent as the tears run down my cheeks. Shh, she whispers to me, putting a leg up around my shoulders to pull me against her. It's okay. It's okay, sweetheart. Come now. You're bleeding. We're going to sit you down in the corner, and I'm going to patch you up, and everything will be okay. It must be true. I know it's true, but I don't feel like it's true. She's going to patch me up, and everything is going to be okay. I should be happy that everything is fine now, but I can't seem to stop crying. I know everything is all right because she tells me it is, but my chest hurts, and I can't seem to get enough air, and my eyes won't clear, and shh, Green whispers. I didn't even realize she was leading me into a corner. I was so distracted. She has some things here. A little cot and some boxes of something I can't make out because my vision won't clear. Gently, she pushes me down to the cot and rubs something against my side. She coos, so close that her voice is in my ear, and I feel tingly and numb. I think you need a rest now, sweetheart. Real rest. She pulls something out of one of the boxes, and I feel a sharp prick in my side. Now, shut your eyes, and I promise, when you awake, it'll be all better. I'm starting to feel heavy, so I let my head rest against her shoulder. She's so wonderful, and if she says it, it must be true. I just need a rest, and everything will be all better. All better. Darkness. Too tired to dream, I suppose. That's not to say there aren't visions in my sleep, and things half remembered, but they all have the awkward tinge of reality. I remember Green shoving pills down my throat, forcing me to drink some water, helping me to the bathroom at one point, little things like that. There's pain, and I ask her for morphine, but she says no for some reason I don't understand. Perhaps it isn't necessary, though. I'm so weak that not even the pain can keep my head up. She's there with me when I wake up, lying next to me. I know it's her even before I open my eyes. I can feel her old, ragged dress pressed up against me, and I can smell that cloying, rotten odor that seems to follow them around. Am I the only pony here who can smell it? Maybe they've all gotten used to it. It's an oddly effective wake-up call, stopping me from getting comfortable enough to drift away, and soon I crack an eye open. She isn't asleep. Her head is up, and she's playing with one of the wire doll crystals, rolling it around on the floor with a hoof, back and forth. There's not a lot to read in her expression, save for a tiredness of the eyes and a faint, dull frown. Boredom, I'd call it, when there aren't a lot of happy thoughts to distract you. She hasn't noticed that I'm awake yet. I shut my eyes again. Why is it that you smell different when I'm hypnotized? It takes a lot of effort to say it, and the breaths come hard, my words emerging as a sigh. There's no answer at first, but I feel her body move as she turns her head towards me. I don't know, sweetheart. It's just one of those things, she says, and her hoof touches my neck, brushing down to my shoulder, straightening my mane. You've been asleep for about 12 hours now. Why didn't... I can't find the air to finish the sentence, but she doesn't rush me, letting me draw a few breaths before I go on. There's a tightness in my chest, and my breathing feels shallow. They find us. It's a big tower, sweetheart, she says, speaking slowly and quietly as she brushes my mane with her hoof. Little motions, back and forth. Even if they've started a house-to-house search now, it'll be a while before they get to us. You found me, I say. Guards found me too. 3 times. I should have died. Trixie told me where to find you. I was off in the basement when I got the wire. Galloped straight there and still barely caught you in time. She lets out a hiss of breath, uncertain if she wants to continue. I'm glad I arrived when I did. I'm sorry I'm slowing us down, I say, and it's true. I ran off and got cornered by wire dolls, trapped by a marker, caught by guards. I'm only alive because of ridiculous amounts of sheer stupid luck, and I'm still the reason we keep getting in trouble. I'm still the one who needs other ponies to help her. I messed up. That's not the way I saw it, sweetheart. Green answers. I can hear her opening her bag, the faint whisper of magic, and then it's a brush in my mane instead of her hoof, slowly working it straight. I saw a unicorn who looked like a swift breeze could push her over step into the ring with 2 earth pony brawlers. You'd been blooded, stabbed, burnt, and tore nearly every muscle in your legs, and you turned around to meet him in your terms. You got real guts, Siren. The will to live. I don't answer to that. She's trying to make me feel better, but I don't think fear and bravery are the same thing. The conversation lapses as she continues to brush, and she makes her strokes more carefully and slowly, perhaps thinking that it will lull me back to sleep. I can't sleep, though. I'm thinking. You're an assassin, aren't you? Or a hitmare, or whatever you call it. The brush stops, and she doesn't answer me. It just occurred to me now. You're totally unafraid of violence. You live in a dangerous place, but no pony messes with you. You don't have a job, but you can afford your mantles. I draw a low breath, and the air seems to spill out of me with the weight. It's true. I do whatever Trixie needs me to do, sweetheart, she says, her tone gentle, and she resumes brushing. Sometimes that involves killing ponies, yes. Why? I ask, and I really want to know. I'm curious. It doesn't even frighten me, sitting next to a murderer. Maybe that's the drugs. My dose is pretty expensive. Back when I could afford it, I went and I got the best mantles money could buy. Figured it was an investment in my health, for later, she says, her tone wandering, meandering lazily through memory. I suppose it worked, since I'm still in good condition, but it's not cheap to keep up. More than I could afford working a regular job. Would you kill me, if Trixie asked you to? I already know the real answer, but I'm curious if she'll lie to me. If she'll admit that she'd slit my throat for the right number of bits. Trixie won't ask that, she says, and I guess that's fine. That's probably true. I ran into the marker, in the tower, I say, letting the words flow as breath becomes available. It's getting a little easier now. She was losing her grip on reality, forgetting things, becoming violent. Her skin was boiling off. I try to draw a deep breath, and one of my ribs stings, reminding me to take my time about it. Is that what you're going to turn into? Eventually, she murmurs, still brushing away. Yes. I'm sorry, Green. It seems wrong to tell her that, with everything she is. A monster, and a freak, and a killer. But it's so sad. You don't deserve that. We deserve just what we get, sweetheart, she says, shushing me gently. All our debts come due eventually. I ain't gonna waste the time I have whining that it's not fair. And you shouldn't waste your time worrying about the likes of us. There's a sub waiting for you, and a ship, and a breeze to blow you back to Equestria, she says, and she lets out the faintest hiss of breath as she does it, smiling maybe. You'll be with the princess again soon. You hate the princess, I say, and my ears twitch back when the little breath of air hits them. You hate me because I'm her student. I don't hate you, Siren. When Trixie told me, I saw you as a little miniature Princess Celestia, and that was wrong of me, she says, trailing off, and in that pause, I know she's frowning. You're a kind young mare. Your only crime was being deceived. You aren't waiting for some pony to save you. You did save me, I point out. You had him on the ropes. I just figured we should hurry things along, she says, chuckling like it was funny. Now that I know what she does, I suppose I understand her sick sense of humor. Every pony needs to find something in their job to giggle at. I guess, I answer, for lack of anything else to say. Yes, nothing. You must be half Earth pony, she asserts, and though her voice is still quiet, she tries to keep her tone light. I have never seen a unicorn take that kind of beating and keep on ticking. Lacerations, contusions, torn muscles, bruised ribs, a minor concussion, and you kept getting back up. Staying down would have hurt less. This time, it's my turn to laugh, and I immediately regret it, pain shooting through my ribs with every chuckle, making me wheeze. Well, you can stay down now, because you aren't going anywhere until I decide you're healed, she says, giving my shoulder a little pat. I promise. That feels nice to hear, even if it isn't true. It's comforting, I guess. Do you know why I ran away? I ask, and I can feel her head shake, the little tremors of her body when she moves. Barry wanted to give me a mantle, so I wouldn't be afraid. To make me like her, so you could manage me more easily. I trail off, not sure what to say. What can I say? If Trixie told you to... She presses a hoof to my lips. Shh, she whispers, drawing out the sound, long and slow. Her horseshoe is cold against my muzzle, worn so smooth by years of use that I can't even feel the nails. It's a part of her hoof, like the dress is a part of her. I can feel the fabric touching me whenever she takes a breath, and her sides push the dress against me a little. It's not like whitewash's smock, left to decay in time. It feels clean, kept up, so carefully preserved. It's so worn and ragged, but it won't admit it until the day the last thread in it frays. There are lots of ponies who prefer to wear clothes, but I think she's the first pony I've ever met who would actually be naked without them. I guess that's okay. Can I hear you sing? I ask, if only because I can't think of anything else to ask. She stammers, stumbling suddenly in the conversation. It's been a long time since I sang anything, sweetheart. Please? Just something simple, I say. She doesn't answer at first, folding and unfolding her hooves awkwardly. It's a good few seconds before she makes any noise at all, gently shaking her head. Then she takes a breath. A gentle breeze from high in the mountains softly blows through the air to the bay. It fills the sails of ships that are waiting to sail your troubles to sea. She sings. She really is a talentless hack. Her voice is sweet, but she has no idea how to use it, bumbling through the words without grace or distinction. That song is a classic, and she's butchering it. It still helps me sleep, though. To walk, I suppose. Green is saying, when I snap awake. I know I'm getting better, because I feel so much worse. The dull aches and pains coming to agonizing focus. The indistinct stabbing in my muscles has turned into 1,000 hot needles, every one of which I can feel individually. My head pounds every time my heart beats, and my eyes throb every time the lights pulse. An involuntary groan escapes me, but Green takes no notice. But just walk. Not so much as a trot past that. She's standing next to me, staring at a blank wall, her eyes wide and glassy. For a second, I don't get it, but then I notice that one of her horseshoes is glowing a dull blue, the same shade of blue as the crystals in my little hoof boot. I guess that's what makes it look like when some pony wires you, instead of the other way around. If she can see or hear me, she's not showing it, and I really need to pee, so I skip trying to get her attention and wander off that way, flinching with every step. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Her voice drifts through the empty apartment, and while it isn't exactly classy, I leave the bathroom door open so I can hear what she's saying. There's a long silence, a few full seconds at least, and when I hear Green's, "Yes, Trixie, I'm sorry," I know she's getting yelled at. It's odd, but she doesn't get reproachful or guilty when Trixie berates her. It's fear in her voice. Then again, I guess the consequences of Trixie cutting her off are a bit worse than just failing to make rent. I promise, I'll... Yes, Trixie, Yes, I understand. A long silence follows, with nothing more than occasional sounds of affirmation from Green to indicate she's listening. I finish up and wash off. There's no mirror in the bathroom, but that's probably for the best. I bet I look like one ugly mule right now, all cut and bruised up. Soon enough, I'm back in the main room. It's good to be able to get my bearings with a clear head, even if there's not much here. I can see the cot where Green and I slept, and the boxes of supplies stacked up in the corner. They're mostly food, water, and medical supplies, though I do spot some odds and ends like rope and jackets. I grab an apple and some water out of one of the boxes, and work my way through it while I search for my belt. It's in one of the bigger boxes. I think Green cleaned it. Are we sure the tunnels are traversable? Even if security hasn't filled them in by now, I don't think the rebels have done much maintenance lately. Green asks, drawing her head back as she sets her jaw. To me, the uncertainty is clear as day, but Trixie can't see any of that. Curious to see this from the other side. I slip a few bottles of water into my belt while I wait, along with some more pep bars, bandages, antiseptics, needles and thread, and painkillers. I fill up the entire belt except for 2 loops, and it feels heavy afterwards. Still, no sense in letting the capacity go to waste. We'll see how things are when we get to Cedo Station then, she says, and from the strength of her nod, I gather that the conversation is wrapping up. Yes, Trixie. Her horseshoe stops glowing, and she blinks her eyes twice, taking a moment to let them focus on the wall in front of her. She actually starts a little when she sees I'm not there, her body sharply coming alert as her eyes go wide, but she slumps when she spots me in a moment later. Oof. She holds a hoof to her undercarriage, and I think her heart is racing. You gave me a scare there, sweetheart. I thought you'd gone and wandered off. I don't feel ready to stand up, much less wander off on my own. I'm alert, though. Alert enough to remember good form. Green will respect stoicism, I'm sure, and a dignified posture. But I don't want her thinking I'm ready for something I'm not. The key, then, is to do it a little bit badly, and so I straighten up until I hear a joint crack, dignified, but ready to fake a... Ah! I let out a remarkably realistic-sounding squeak at that crack. In fact, I am such a good actor that it's totally indistinguishable from if I had actually wrenched a joint. I am that good. Totally planned that. Along with Green's laughing. I've heard her laugh. That's us bonding right there. So she'll protect me. You seem to be feeling better, Green observes. Mentally too, I hope? I guess. The question never occurred to me. How does one determine if you're mentally better? I don't feel like crying or screaming or panicking, but this isn't exactly normal, is it? A little overwhelmed, maybe, but I'm not going to panic. Thank you for last night. That helped a lot. That was 2 nights ago, sweetheart, and this is the 4th time you thanked me for it. But you're welcome, Green says, as she smiles and nods. You're a fast healer. I wouldn't have bet on you being on your hooves this soon. So, did I hear you say we're moving on? I don't feel ready to go out there, not to face those guards. The apprehension Green is trying to hide with a tacky smile doesn't help matters. Still, her outward tone is upbeat at least. Trixie bought your laugh from Miss Tiara, she says, delivering the facts with an efficient, straightforward tone. City Central still has the building surrounded, but the local guards are going to see us to the basement. Apparently, some of the rebels' old smuggling tunnels are intact and accessible from here. I don't know how far they're intact, but it will get us out of the security cordon at least. Miss Tiara. She's the owner of this tower? To be safe, I wait for Green to nod before I go on. She's a rebel? More likely she sold mantles and weapons to the rebels. Green's tone is casual, but she's forcing it to be that way. I can hear her chest and barrel are a little bit tight. That means grief or anger, and somehow I doubt she's broken up about the tragedy of mantle smuggling. This tower seems to do well no matter how the rest of the city fares. Does Trixie trust her to take the bribe? A prudent question, given that security also tried to bribe her and ended up no better off for it. Green hesitates for a moment before she answers. Trixie made her an offer she could not refuse. I don't get it, but I get that this is a figure of speech, and that Green is worried its meaning will upset me. So, something unpleasant then. And will that make her trustworthy? It's the best deal we're gonna get, sweetheart. Unless you're keen to fight your way out. She answers, with a sigh and a shake of her head. Come on now, eat something, and I'll take one more look at your injuries. We should be on our way within an hour or so. We're eating them at the intersection next floor over. Sure, I say, but I catch her attention with a little glance. There's an art to glancing. First at her eyes, then down and away, and just when she's getting curious about what I was about to say, back up and hold her gaze for a good long second. Do it right, and the most trivial statement will sound profound and deeply personal, even if you mess up the tone. Though for the record, I never mess up the tone. Green, you offered me that set of knives before. Does the offer still stand? She pauses, narrows her eyes, and examines me for a moment. Then she nods. Her horn comes alight with that distinctive blood-red glow, and her saddlebags slide open. She's cleaned the knives. There's no blood on her dress, now that I think about it, and she floats them over to me in a single smooth motion. Here. There are no sheaths, but if they're going to be in that belt, you'll need something to cover them. She pulls a small section of burlap from her saddlebags and levitates a needle, thread, and scissors from the first aid kit. She's remarkably fast. And soon, 2 crude yet functional baggies adorn my belt loops, protecting my flanks from the blade. Now, let's see those injuries. She says about what I thought she would, that I'm not about to puke up my vital organs, but I shouldn't try running any races. Possibility of permanent damage if I overexert myself. At least no sign of infection, blah blah whatever. I let her do her work. It's so strange to watch her now. My eyes keep wandering to her dress, wondering what it's there to conceal. I remember. A horseshoe cutie mark, and an eye with a swirl in it, and the apples on her flank. But there were others I don't remember. And are there any signs of degradation? That bruise on her forehead really does look like one of the lumps when it's painted over that way. I bet she's stewing about that, but refusing to show it, or refusing to think about it. Freak. That's what I called her. Freak. Noun. A thing or occurrence that is markedly unusual or irregular, often with negative connotations. I wish she was a freak, but I think she's too normal for that. Ghoul doesn't quite fit her. Not like it does Barry. She's not dead. She's afraid of death. Witch doesn't quite fit her either. Not like it does Trixie. Monster, maybe? My murderous protector. Green gives a sharp two-tone whistle, and I snap out of my reverie, shaking my head. What? I said you're all done. Your legs aren't going to fall off for a few good hours at least. Let's go, she says, turning to the door. She's not hurting me like she did before, but moving ahead and trusting me to follow. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I move after as quick as I can under the circumstances, pausing only to slip a jacket on before we step outside. The hallway is empty, silent except for the crunch of our hoof falls, the puff of our breath, and the pulse of the lights. The bodies are gone, but I can still see long blood stains running from where they died to the bottom of the incline, little patches of scarlet in the snow. Green turns to move down slope, and I keep with her. It doesn't take us long to reach the intersection. A 5-way split this time. There's a dozen guards there, and 4 wire dolls spread out to cover the tunnels. More security than they had for the entire tram station just to escort the 2 of us. My heart starts to flutter, but I don't stop. I just keep walking forward into the middle of the group. They're staring. What are they staring for? Do they know who I am? Are they shocked and horrified to see the princess's student? I try to turn away from them, but I end up looking at one of the wire dolls instead, and that doesn't help at all. I can see my reflection in its eyes and... they're all around us. Why do they need so many guards to walk us to the exit? It's a trap. It's a trap. We're gonna die. Green's hoof presses against my side, blocking me from drawing the knife as I take hold of it. What's she doing? What's she doing? Shh. She gave a little shake of her head. I let go of the knife. She pats my shoulder. Siren Song and company, I presume? One of the guards asks, stepping forward. He's a purple Pegasus stallion with a strange cutie mark on his cheek that depicts a Pegasus mare rearing over a starburst. From his expression, he's a little less nervous than the others, but I think that's only because he feels he has to put on a strong face. I'm about to speak when Green takes a step forward. You would be correct, Green answers him. You here to take us to the tunnels? By way of Miss Tiara, yes. She wants to have a word with Siren and... what do I call you? He gestures at Green with a hoof. You don't, lover boy. You're our escort. Now would you kindly escort us? She makes a faint little waving motion with her hoof, and he seems to lose his train of thought. I would call it obvious, but none of the other guards catch on, so I'm not going to complain. He barks orders, and soon enough, we're moving through the tower at a steady walk, headed in through the wide corridors. It doesn't seem to be that long before we stop, although my attention is mostly on the pain in my legs, so I'm not paying a lot of heed to exactly how far we've walked. The guard draws. Green holds out a leg to stop me, and I realize we're in front of an impressive set of oaken double doors. The image of a 5-pointed tiara emblazoned on them in silver, half of the image on each door. A guard knocks. The door opens a crack, and there's a whispered conversation. Soon enough, we're led on through. The doors don't open all the way. To keep the heat in, I guess. Only parting enough for a single pony to pass. The wire dolls move in first, then us, then 2 of the guards, then the doors shut. We're in the foyer of an office done up in an absolutely horrific style. Dark red plush carpeting, beige paint on the walls, and hearth-warming Eve decorations everywhere. From the shape of it, there are a number of offices that connect to the space, but the guards and wire dolls lead us straight through to the one in the back, knocking on the wooden door there. Enter! A sharp feminine voice calls, and the door slides open to let us and our escorts in. We're in a smaller office now, containing a cluttered desk, some cabinets, a few pictures on the walls, and a high-backed chair that currently holds a garishly pink earth pony mare. A silver tiara rests on her head. Her namesake, I suppose, blending poorly with her purple and white mane. No cutie marks that I can see, but the desk is so high and she's pulled up so close that I can't see much below her shoulders anyway. Still, she appears to be about my age. Too young for all of this. Ah, if it isn't the mare of the hour. She gestures me forward. And Green as well. A pleasure. Diamond? Green greets the mare behind the desk, her tone openly wary. There are guards all around us, ready with weapons. I try to seem indifferent, but I know I'm failing. I keep glancing around, eyeing those knives, seeing when they step toward us. It was my understanding we were going straight to meet Barry Punch. I hope she hasn't suffered any misfortune in the interim. Now, Green, I don't appreciate that accusation, Diamond Tiara says in a cool tone. Miss Punch is a resident of my tower. I do take the safety of my tenants seriously. Her voice is relaxed, but her posture is too stiff and artificial for that. Eyes narrowed, shoulders tight, back straight. I know she's alert, and I'd bet she's angry. But she's not giving away much more than that. Can we see her? Green asks, direct and to the point, her gaze focused on the mare behind the desk. Diamond Tiara doesn't answer right away, letting Green stew in her uncertainty. It's only after a hefty pause that she reaches behind the desk to hit something, and a side door opens to the office. Barry comes through it, shoved by a wire doll behind her, and she soon stumbles into place beside Green. I can't worry about her now. I have to try and be brave, not let the guards see how frightened I am. I wonder if Barry is looking at me, planning when to give me the mantle. It was also my understanding that we were going directly to the tunnels. Green continues, her whole body stiff. She's nervous, and I don't like it when she's nervous because that makes me... Deep breath, Siren. Has there been some problem there? To an extent, but nothing that can't be overcome, I'm sure. Diamond says, leaning back in the chair and tapping the tips of her hooves together. I need you to wire Trixie to renegotiate the terms of your release. Listen, I understand your situation, Green says, trying to soften her tone with limited success. But that's a matter between you and Trixie. You can wire her yourself. Would you kind of let us go in the meanwhile? I try not to show my relief, but it's good to know the situation is under control. Ah, yes, Diamond Tiara says. She smiles, but it's the wrong kind of smile. Smug, confident, not the stupid grin of some pony staring at the most beautiful mare in the world. I've heard about your unique approach to diplomacy. I'm curious if you're aware that they pre-released a Mark II version about a month ago. Green takes a step away, body tensing, as she flicks her gaze between Diamond and the guards. Diamond only laughs, a dark little giggle. Tell you what, if you didn't know that, bark like the well-trained dog you are. Arf! Arf! Green shouts, her body goes slack, relaxing at once as her tongue lolls out. She sharply flicks her tail back and forth, gawking at Diamond Tiara with the expression of absolute adoration. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. That's not fair. That's her thing. That's what she does. It has to work. You really should keep your mantles up to date. Diamond Tiara tut-tuts with Green, feigning disappointment as she shakes her head. Still, this is a good bit for you. It really makes you seem more approachable. Diamond Tiara stands up behind her desk, reaching down into a drawer to find a pink rubber ball. When she rises, I can see her lower body more clearly. A tiara kitty mark on her flank, an eye with a golden swirl inside on her leg, a pile of bits near the base of her tail, and I think there's something on her back. Who wants a rubber ball? She coos at Green, who eagerly hops up and down. You do? You want the rubber ball? Go get the ball. She flicks the ball off her desk, and Green eagerly pounces on it with her forehooves, catching it in her mouth and chewing. Green? I call to her at a whisper, leaning down next to her and nudging her shoulders. Green? Green, snap out of it. She growls at me, pulling the ball away and defensively folding her hooves over it. Green, you need to wake up. Is there a point to this? Barry asks with a level tone, and my head snaps up to her. I'm alone. I'm alone with Barry and the guards. I can feel my heart racing, the room heating up. It's getting hard to breathe. Diamond Tiara doesn't answer. After the silence gets too long, I turn back to her, and I realize that she's staring at me. She's looking right at me, level and evaluating. She's not putting on airs. She's searching for something. But I don't understand, and I don't know what to do. She sees me watching, though, and turns away, reaching across her desk to push one of those miniature wire dolls into the center. Point, Barry? Diamond Tiara asks, her teeth set on edge, her tone dropping into an icy rigidity. 15 of my guards are dead because of that filly beside you, and Trixie thinks she can bully me into pretending it didn't happen? She offered you a fair deal, Barry replies as Green looks between them with wide, uncomprehending eyes. She's wondering when one of them is going to throw the ball again. Tell me, Diamond Tiara demands, her stare faintly narrowing. By what standard, do it and I won't have you killed, is a fair deal? That is an oversimplification, Barry says, her tone calm as ever, but Diamond Tiara's expression doesn't change. I'm not so sure that it is. she answers, and I can hear the pent-up rage she's hiding under that icy exterior. However, it is surely an accurate description of the terms you are being offered. She emphasizes her words with a shove of the wire doll towards the edge of the desk. Barry turns her head left, then right, taking in the guards around us. She gives in without the slightest show of defeat, stepping up to the doll and then rummaging through the saddlebags for the crystal. It doesn't take her long to find it, and she leans her head around to slot it into the doll's flank. The little thing twitches, hums, and comes to life. Trixie. Barry greets the doll. Green barks twice. I don't say anything. What can I say? Barry? Trixie answers through the doll's mechanical intonations. Her tone is flat, almost bored, but something is wrong with the doll, and the pitch of her voice wavers up and down randomly. The doll twists around on its little stand, looking over its shoulder at the desk. Diamond? What's the meaning of this? I want 150,000 bits for Siren and the other two. Diamond Tiara answers, quick and to the point. She draws a deep breath, letting it out through her teeth. I don't suppose you care, but that's 10,000 bits for every one of my guards you got killed. Compensation for their families. Trixie lets out a derisive snort, the little bobble of the doll's head the only sign that she rolled her eyes. The way Trixie hears it, you got your guards killed trying to shortchange security. Trixie knows money is hard to come by these days, Diamond, but really, Dr. Stable is half the reason any pony still lives, and I didn't ask for your opinion. Diamond Tiara roars, her hooves slamming down onto the desk, hard enough to leave gouges into the wood. Her eyes go wide, and she rears up, reaching out to spin the doll around with a sharp smack to its base. I'm sick of getting squeezed by you and by security. What's the point of paying protection if you don't actually protect me? Trixie doesn't answer at first, but I can see the little doll raising a foreleg as though to consider its own hoof, turning around, examining it, and only glancing up after a moment. Oh, Trixie is sorry. Were you expecting an answer to that? There's an explosion there, waiting to be set off. A furious, screaming, wide-eyed rant. But Diamond Tiara takes a deep breath, stamping it down and shaking her head. 150,000. Or what? You'll kill them? How will Trixie ever deal with the grief? The little doll asks, tone overwrought, raising a hoof to its forehead in mock fainting. After a moment of that, it rights itself, fixing Diamond with a glare and a snide. Be serious. Oh, of course. Diamond Tiara turns to Barry, Green, and me, and then scowls down at the tiny metal figurine. Where do you find these ponies, Trixie? My guards follow me because I would go to the ends of the ocean for any of them, but you seem to find followers who delight in your sadistic indifference to their lives. I suppose when they've been particularly good, you do them the honor of beating them in person? This is starting to get boring, Trixie replies, her tone flat. Trixie doesn't care if they live or die, but Trixie does have a reputation to maintain. Touch any of them, and Trixie will have you drawn and quartered right in the middle of that lovely bazaar of yours. That's kind of an overtop threat even for you, Trixie. Diamond answers, but that confidence is flowing back into her smirk. But you are even more full of it than usual today. I'll believe you don't care about Green or Barry, but you've been pulling out all the stops to go after this filly. Parting with good money, burning favors, picking fights. She must be very valuable to you to be worth so much effort. Yet I can't help but notice she doesn't seem that useful. No valuable skills, no special knowledge, no connections or influence. So I can only imagine that your interest in her is personal. Oh, please, Trixie insists, with a little dismissive wave of her hoof. That's the best you can come up with. Trixie has no family, no friends, no pony she cares about. Diamond Tiara spits caustically, sneering down at the little doll. I don't buy the whole Mare of Mystery act, Trixie. What is she to you? A niece? A cousin? A friend? Some pony you had hidden away so they couldn't be used against you. Oh, yes, that's it. You got Trixie. Trixie answers, her voice dripping disdain. Well, with such a secret out, it seems like Trixie's only recourse would be to say that if you touch a hair on their bodies, Trixie will have you killed. A faint pause hangs in the wake of that declaration. Oh, wait. Hold on. You think this is funny? Diamond shouts, her body tense and tone sharp. More sad, really. The doll gives the faintest of sighs, tilting its head to the side. You don't have the guts for the city, Diamond. You never did. That's why you ran crying off to Trixie that those mean old stallions in security weren't playing nice with you. and you'll note that ever since that point, they have left you alone when you aren't dumb enough to antagonize them. So don't say that Trixie didn't hold up her end of the bargain. If you had what it takes, you would have never needed Trixie in the first place. So don't pretend you're willing to pick that fight. I am not your pet, Trixie! Diamond Tiara snarls, her hoof smashing into the desk, knocking one of the glass ornaments off the edge. I hear it shatter on the floor, but I don't look away. No, good pets are hard to come by. But this city is full of ponies dumb enough to think that running a successful business means they have what it takes to play war. Trixie answers, unfazed. I built this tower, and I took care of the ponies in it. Don't you mock that, you stuck-up lunatic! She screams, mane out of order as she leans in to glower down at the doll. Her head is almost bigger than its entire body, but Trixie doesn't so much as twitch. You think I haven't got the guts? She sharply turns to us. Tell you what, Green. Come over here and lay your head on the edge of the desk. Green shrugs me off without a second thought, pushing me aside as she trots up right to Diamond Tiara, laying her head on the hard desk's edge. Diamond Tiara turns the wire doll around so that it's pointed right at Green, forcibly tilting its head down to gaze into her eyes. Tell you what, Green. Tell Trixie that this is Siren next if she doesn't get the message. Siren's up here next if you don't get the message. Green tells the doll in front of her, sing-song, cheerful, as Diamond picks up one of the heaviest decorations on the deck, a solid brass bookend. Diamond, there's no— Shut up! Diamond snarls. The bookend is heavy enough that she has to hold it between two hooves. She raises it high and brings it down on top of Green's head. There's a loud, wet crack, her head slamming down against the edge of the hard wood. At once, her eyes go unfocused, and she starts to slump to the floor, but one of the guards rushes forward to grab her, holding her up and pinning her to the wood. Diamond Tiara raises the bookend. Stop! I shout, leaping across the little room. The guard is in my way, but I manage to shove myself between him and the desk, wrapping my forelegs around Green's head. I can barely stand up that way, teetering back and forth on two hooves as I try to find something to brace against. All my legs are burning, shaking with pain, but I can't let go. Stop! You'll kill her! You win, okay? I can tell I'm tearing up, and I know I'm screaming, but I don't know what else to do. You win! I'm sorry I got your tower messed up. I was frightened by security, and I ran, and I didn't realize I was leading them somewhere. I'm sorry. You win. Just don't hurt her. Diamond Tiara doesn't say anything, at first. The bookend is still above her head, and she draws deep, quick breaths, her eyes wide. Well, Trixie will do as you have demanded if you release the three of them. The little wire doll says, its mechanical voice restrained and stiff. There is no need for any further unpleasantness, so long as you keep your conclusions a secret. Keep them a secret indefinitely, and Trixie will forget that this ever occurred. We can call it a new understanding between us. Barry will shake on it. There's a pause before Diamond Tiara answers, and when she does, her voice is quieter, lower. Take the green one outside. Make sure she doesn't die. The guards and dolls hesitate, but she makes a sharp gesture with a hoof. I don't let go. I can't let go. She might slip, and her head could hit the desk. But then there's a cable around my foreleg, and one of the guards has my other leg, and they're pulling me off her, yanking me away no matter how much I struggle and shout, dragging Green off. Be quiet! Diamond Tiara snaps at me, and I fall silent, trying not to sniffle too much. After a moment, she reaches out and gives Barry the most angry hoof shake I've ever seen, just about grinding her hoof into the other Earth ponies. After a moment, they finally pull apart, trading Barry's flat expression for Tiara's toxic glare. Fine. Diamond Tiara snaps, sitting back in her chair and yawning as she moves a hoof to cover her mouth. Get them out of here before I change my mind. The guards pull us away, back into the main room. Green is there, on her hooves at least, and there's a bandage around her head. They don't give us time to talk, pushing us out into the hallway. It doesn't take them long to lead us into one of the many unmarked metal doors in these halls, and they open it with a ring of keys, forcing us down into it and slamming the door behind us. I hear a humming sound, the whine of those bars lowering. There's a long stairwell here, twisting down, spiraling through the rock. We move away from the cold, and the sound of dripping water returns. That smell of mold and the feeling of dampness. We move away from the guards, and there's no sound but our hooves. We move away from the lights, and it's dark. Light. Barry orders. Green and I move to comply, but I'm a little faster, and my magenta glow fills the space around us. There's nothing to see now but the stairwell, winding stone steps, and damp walls. Soon, though, the stairs end, and we emerge into a rough-hewn tunnel. Gray stone here, not white, and the floor is rough and uneven, covered in patches of moss. "Are you all right?" I ask Green, once we're away from the guards. I don't know why I felt I couldn't talk in front of them, but somehow, the damp and dark tunnel seems far more welcoming than the cool, sterile tower ever did. She doesn't answer me right away. Her face is pretty messed up. I think some of it might be that her light is actually blood red and mine is pretty close, but the entire left side of her face seems to be covered in a mass of black. Her ear on that side folded back, and her eyes keep sporadically opening and closing. "I've been better, sweetheart," she finally says, but the words are noticeably slurred, and a lot of breath escapes with them. "I know this may seem strange, but not all of us are as tough as you. To some ponies, a concussion is actually a fairly significant inconvenience." This place must be getting to me, because for a second, I don't actually know if she wants me to joke back or not. If I'm supposed to be serious, or show bravado in turn, or just stop talking. That's such a simple thing to read usually, but there's a noticeable pause before I pick up on her. She wants me to stop talking. I think the sound might be making her headache worse. "You need a doctor. Horse apples. A place to lie down and get some real first aid. How long is it to where we're going?" "Cedar Station is a ways away, sweetheart. We've got a few hours of walking," she says, her head slumping faintly. "Don't you worry, though. I'll hold together until then." "We're not going to Cedar Station," Barry corrects her, without the slightest trace of concern for her health, or even something as decent as fear. "Trixie has ordered us to take the first left instead. It will lead us to the maintenance junction where we are to wait for further instructions." "That's not what she told me," Green says. She raises her voice a little when she answers, but only to bring it to a regular volume. It sounds like it takes a lot of effort. "Trixie knew that Diamond Tiara could hypnotize you." Barry gives Green a curt answer, but for some reason, Green laughs, the motion making her wince. "She's always got an angle, doesn't she?" Green asks, but Barry says nothing. It takes Green a second to realize her mistake, or to remember who she's talking to. "Did Trixie tell you anything else?" "Yes," Barry answers. "Of course she does." "Anything I might find relevant?" Green asks, nudging me a little as we pass through a particularly narrow bit of tunnel. Barry takes her time in answering that one too, mulling it over, I guess. "That I should shake on her behalf," Barry says. Her voice is plain, reciting the simple facts of our meeting. But Green laughs again, a dark chuckle this time. A smile appears on Green's face as we walk, that same smile she had when she told me that I started a riot, and when she calmly stuck 2 knives into a pony's ears. She doesn't seem to have any more questions for Barry, walking with her eyes half shut. It makes her seem strangely serene, even though I know she must be in pain. "What does that mean, Green?" I finally ask her, after what seems like forever. "Green, what does that mean?" "It's just like I told you, sweetheart," she says. "One way or another, we all deserve exactly what we get."